BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Andy Burke and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need for Tuesday the 13th of May. And as the search for a new Hearts manager over.
I've got a brilliant relationship with the club, Billy Bowie in particular, and Billy, I'm sure, would be the first to tell me what's going on. So it's hard for me to say anything other than that. In fact, there's been no contact from club to club.
There's been club-to-club contact now as negotiations open over Derek McInnes moving to Tynecastle. And what a game we've got to look forward to tonight.
I think there's a lot been taken out of them over the last 3 games, so we've got a wee bit in advantage in terms of intensity.
Would much rather be sitting here in this position, thinking of a game plan that's going to work than being on our holidays.
Livingston travel to Partick Thistle for the Premiership playoff semi-final. And
we've been in this position before. We know what's at stake. We know how important it is for our football club, and it's about recognising that, and then it's about applying the game plan to go and get the result.
As Ross County struggle on a 7-game losing streak, we ask what's gone wrong at Dingwall.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Well, we're joined on the podcast by Ray Bradshaw, comedian and Partick Thistle fan, and David Wotherspoon, former St Johnstone midfielder. Lots to discuss with the guys. And Ray, I'm guessing you're pretty excited. How are you feeling about the big game tonight as a Thistle fan? A few nerves in the tummy, I would imagine.
Yeah, also, you can tell you don't meet a lot of Thistle fans when you think we're excited about the prospect of watching us play football. I think none of us thought we'd really get through. When we saw the team coming out on Friday night and there's a player in there that you've genuinely never heard of, you can't think best. But yeah, it's exciting tonight. I'm going to meet my mates before the game. This is the best bit. The football's the worst part of the day. Everything else around it's the exciting bit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it tonight. Yeah, David, the playoffs are brilliant entertainment for the neutral, but I suppose gut-wrenching if you've got skin in the game as Ray does.
Absolutely. Obviously, I was part of the St Johnstone side that managed to survive against Inverness. I wasn't playing, and I think that was even worse. I was sitting there watching, you couldn't do anything about it, and you had to sit through it. I made the trip up to Inverness, and it was nail-biting stuff, and it was tough times.
We'll get on to that match this evening in a moment, but we're going to start with the big news story of the day, guys. Talks have opened between Hearts and Kilmarnock over manager Derek McInnes, and David looks to be heading towards an inevitable conclusion, and that is Derek McInnes in the Tynecastle dugout. He's been the favourite from the off. What do you make of that move from Hearts to appoint Derek?
Yeah, I think they're looking at someone that knows the Scottish game, been in the Scottish game, had success in it, and look, he's done well in the past, like at Aberdeen, even at Kilmarnock, he had success there too. So they're obviously looking at someone that knows the Scottish game, who's been here for a while, and might be able to get the best out of the team. So it's understandable which direction they've gone down.
Yeah, Ray. Hearts have tried a few different types of manager in recent times. They seem to be going very much tried and tested here with Derek McInnes.
Yeah, it looks like they've looked at the league table and gone, "Who's below us? Let's see who we can get." I think it's an odd one, to be honest. Not as odd as Neil Critchley, because I don't think any of us saw that coming. But if you've got a big analytical model, you've just had £10 million. Looks like it's been invested by Tony Bloom, and you're going with Derek McInnes, a guy who, when he was at Aberdeen, the fans didn't like the style of football. He had a really good, got Kelly promoted, had one good season, not had a great season by all accounts. This time round, if I'm a Hearts fan, I don't find this the most inspiring move, to be honest. And I think from looking on social media, they look like they wish they'd gone a bit bigger this time, but time will tell. Hopefully, I don't know if you actually know this, if you're listening at home, he's actually on this Zoom call sitting quietly while Chris Boyd is going to do the talking for him, which is an exciting moment. That was some of the most awkward telly I've seen in a while, wasn't it?
Did you see that, David?
I did. I saw that as well. Yeah, something else. Get someone.
It was like Chris Boyd had become his Alistair Campbell and just became his spin doctor for everything. It was insane.
Well, who knows? Maybe more clubs will be in for him now off the back of that ringing endorsement from Chris Boyd, and Hearts will have a job in their hands. But it's an interesting time, as Ray says, David, at Hearts, with this investment coming in. I suppose from Derek McInnes' point of view, if he thinks he's getting a chunk of that investment to spend on the team, then he's thinking this could be a good opportunity to get Hearts moving again.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it would be a great opportunity for him. He's done what he has done at Kilmarnock, and I think maybe it is time to move on for him to sort of have a fresh start, and go to a club like Hearts. It would be a massive move for him, and then obviously off the investment that's coming to the club, and obviously the model they're looking at, it might be a bit different for him and might be another challenge for him. So it's exciting times for Hearts, I guess, if they can get it right, because obviously with a massive backing from the board, it could help them get back into the top 6.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the style of football, Ray, and it's an interesting debate in modern football that success almost isn't enough. I think about West Ham under David Moyes enjoying the greatest success they've ever had, winning a European trophy, and yet some fans weren't happy in the style that they did it. And I think a lot of us looking from the outside are thinking, well, hold on a minute, you're flying high in the league, you're winning European trophies, what are you complaining about? But the other side of that is that fans want to be entertained, and as you say, maybe some Hearts fans are thinking, is a Derek McInnes side really going to entertain us? It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as well, when you go back to this time last season, Hearts had signed Jan Danda in a pre-season, a pre-contract, and Blair Spittle, James Penrith. It was like exciting times, and then I saw Danda was out in the press yesterday or the day before talking about how he's not been utilised at all this season. And if you're a creative attacking mid like he was at Ross County, you're playing on the left. And I think for Hearts fans, this season we've seen some of the finest booing you will ever see at Hearts on numerous occasions. The European game, when the last one they played, I can't remember who it was against, some of the booing at that was incredible. And then they've gone through 2 managers. If I'm a Hearts fan, I just want exciting times, and I don't think Derek McInnes is an exciting appointment. I think he'll be a decent appointment. I look forward to when he spends half of that £10 million buying Marley Watkins again. That seems to be his go-to, but it just seems like they could have gone a bit bigger, but maybe they've tried that with the Daniel Stendals of this world and it didn't work, so we'll see.
And what about Kilmarnock then, David? It looks like they'll be in the market for a replacement manager themselves. Who do you think they might be potentially looking at? What sort of manager do you think they need to get in and make sure that next season is maybe a little better than this season has been?
Yeah, I mean, looking at their squad, they've got a decent squad, and obviously it's been tough this year, I think. Because when you go down to their stadium and play them on their pitch, it's always difficult, always hard. And then obviously playing against Derek McInnes' teams, it's always a tough game. So to be honest, I don't know what they'll be looking for next. If the likes of Stephen Naismith, who's played at the club, they might want to bring him back in, because he's an exciting young manager, I guess. And might revitalise the squad and have a bit of excitement about it to get up and running again.
That's a very clever move from a former professional to tout Stephen Naismith for this job, so you can get a media job because he's never off the telly. Nice move. I like your style, David. That's clever.
I'm just off the top of my head. I'm thinking who's in the media that could.
Seems to be the way it works now.
Yeah. Obviously, he had a short stint at Hearts, and he'll be desperate to get back in, I would imagine, to get back into the managing side of things. So, someone that knows the club and that's been there before, that might be an opportunity for them to get back in the game and progress their career, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what develops in the next day or two around the manager situation at both Hearts and Kilmarnock. Right, Ray, what a game we've got in store tonight. Your beloved Partick Thistle against Livingston in the playoff semi-final. Firstly, some reflections on the quarter-final. It was fairly dramatic after the first leg. Did you see Thistle pulling that out the bag in such dramatic style?
Before we start, I would like to read out a message from the producer of this show, who's a friend of mine, who sent me after the first leg. If you're over last night, would you fancy coming on the podcast on Tuesday morning to really rub your nose in it by previewing Ayr v Livy? So I would like to issue a big get it up you to him and just say, yeah, no, I didn't see it coming. I think most Thistle fans were similar when we saw the team go out, when you've got Logan Chalmers and Dan O'Reilly, who are number 1 and 2 in our Player of the Year, both missing the game on Friday night. You get the bench was just 16, 17, 18-year-olds and Stevie Lawless and Alex Jakubiak, and that's a huge concern. And then you go out, you get the early goal, dig in, and Brian Graham. What can you say? To get, I don't know if you know, we've got a documentary crew following us around, and the director said, Brian scoring his 100th goal in the 88th minute of a playoff quarterfinal is amazing for them. He was like, that's an episode. That's us done. So I think we finished the season badly, even though we beat Falkirk and we beat Livy in our last 2 games. We took 1 point against the bottom 3 in the 3 games before that. So confidence was low for us. We beat Livy 1-0. We didn't even have a shot on target. So no one was really expecting us to go on and win. So yeah, great. And then tonight feels like a bonus. And I hate playing Livingston. I've seen us lose a relegation playoff against them. I don't think I've ever seen us win at the Tony Macaroni. I don't think ever. So yeah, I'm actually on a stag do this weekend on Friday, so we've had to find tellies for the Friday night game. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting tonight until the whistle goes, and then it's just backs to the wall again, I think.
Where is the stag do? Not in Livingston, presumably.
No, we're down south, so it's not too bad. So hopefully we should find somewhere. It's in Leeds, but Leeds Rhinos are playing that night, which is big on telly down there. So we'll find that a wee bit difficult, but we'll manage.
Some might say Livingston style mirrors that of Leeds Rhinos. I couldn't possibly comment, but David, when Ray's saying there that teams hate playing against Livingston, I'd imagine that's music to David Martindale's ears when teams kind of hate going up against your team and know they're in for a real tough time.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how they want it. They want it to be a tough game, and I think every time you go to that stadium and put on that pitch, it's just, you just know you're going to be in for a battle. It's not going to be pretty, and you've just got to try and dig in. And yeah, it's going to be. Listen, I've really enjoyed watching these games on Friday nights, and the championship games are always, well, most of the time, the most exciting. Apart from maybe the Tuesday one at Partick here the other night, it wasn't the most prettiest.
Nope.
But listen, they got through it. They got through it. Brian Graham again coming. It's just written, isn't it? It's just like every time he's on the TV, he just seems to pop up with something. And yeah, it was a great goal, to be fair. Maybe could have done better defending wise, but Partick aren't going to complain, and the scenes after it was incredible. They just, I feel like they just get results at the right times. They pick up, because they were in that top 4 for so long, and then they just seem to sort of struggle. They struggled to sort of put together results, and then of course they got rid of Doohan, and then they bring in Mark and Brian, and they've sort of steadied the ship a wee bit defensively. I feel like they've got a bit of a solid platform where they've got the back 3 in, and they're just trying to play off that, and if they can grab a goal here and there, then it works for them. And it has done in the past. You saw it in the past 2 games. They just managed to stay in the game, and then get that goal.
What do you think, Ray? What's the confidence levels like tonight? I know the nervousness levels are through the roof, but how do you see yourself getting through this tie?
Andy, if I was confident, I wouldn't support Partick Thistle. Let's be honest. Like, that's the crux of it. I think David's completely right. Going to a back three has really helped. Lee Ashcroft would head your granny. Every ball that comes his way has been incredible. Hopefully, O'Reilly and Chalmers are back tonight. I saw Kyle Turner's been ruled out for the rest of the playoffs. Hopefully, Jamie Lowe gets out of school in time. Like, it's just a weird thing tonight. No, I don't feel overly confident. I mean, we beat Livy last time we played them, but it was a fluke. Like, there was no G and we were back to the wall. We defended incredibly. The thing is, right now, we've got a threadbare squad. People have written us off. And that's kind of what you want in the playoffs. Yeah. Like, because there's no expectation. We've had... The last time we had expectation in the playoff, we were heading to Dingwall 3-0 up on 2-0 up on aggregate, and we saw how that went.
I was wondering if you were brave enough to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to so many playoff games in the last 4 years. I think we've qualified every year. But David's completely right, because it did look like we were in the playoff position pretty much all season.
Yeah.
And it looked like coming down to the end of it, Wraith had better fixtures than we did, so we needed to go and beat Falkirk and Livy, and that's what we did. And if you want an idea of what it's been like over as a Thistle fan, I was in Birmingham when we beat Falkirk and Terry Ablady scored in the last minute, and I was backstage about to go on stage. And when we scored, I shouted a swear word so loudly backstage that the comedian on stage thought they'd been heckled by an audience member and tried to find out who it was. So that's what this roller coaster has been like. I think I'm going with my mates tonight. We'll see how we get on. I reckon we draw. I think we've drawn both games at home against Livy. And there was one game about Christmas time, they beat us 2-0, and it was 2-0 going on 5. They absolutely dominated it. So hopefully we get that Thistle that dig in tonight, and we'll see.
Do you know anything more about this Lee Ashcroft headband thing?
Yeah. So it's really weird, actually, because he got a head injury and he wore it, and then Friday, I think, was the first time he hadn't worn it, and then all of a sudden at halftime he's back wearing it. So I don't know if he's the brightest. I think he might have just forgot to put it on and then came out. I don't know. Probably all the heading's not helping him, is it?
He's wearing it Tuesday night and then he took it off at half time. And then he wasn't wearing it on Friday, and then he had to put it on during the game. I was like, what?
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as medicinal. I wonder if he's got a tattoo his mum doesn't want to see or something like that, and then he's gone that way.
Or maybe it's superstition and he changes during the game. Who knows? Partick Thistle, Livingston tonight. You'll be able to watch that on the BBC iPlayer and the BBC Sports Scotland website. Right, let's take a look at Ross County, guys. Defeat to St Johnstone on Saturday has dragged them into the relegation dogfight. I don't think there's any doubt about that. David Wotherspoon, what is going on in Dingwall?
I've obviously watched highlights of their games, and particularly at the weekend against St Johnstone, and it's a set piece for the first one, but then the second one, they've got so many bodies. They've got 10 players in the box, but none of them are actually doing any. Like the ball just ricochets, and it's almost like there's too many bodies around that no one takes responsibility. It's like, oh, you get it, and then he'll get it, and it just looks bad. But it looks like they're just low on confidence and fighting for their lives. Or they're just struggling, they're just wanting to try and defend, but it's not quite working. And listen, they've since Cows came in, they have been scoring goals as well. But recently it's sort of dried up a wee bit, and defensively they look vulnerable. So it's going to be really difficult for them. They've obviously got a 3-point advantage, but to stay in the relegation playoffs. But there's a massive game on Wednesday night I'm sure it's against Dundee, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm covering that game.
It's going to be huge, a huge game for them. And listen, if they can get 3 points, it'd just be exciting for the neutral. watching those games on the Saturday where there's a chance of things happening. But obviously, I don't want them to do it because I want St Johnstone to stay up. So,
it's as David says there, Ray, a combination of being the lowest scorers in the league, and they haven't kept a clean sheet since the 1st of March. It's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? And that's kind of where County are at the moment.
Yeah, that's a bad combination, isn't it? Like, that's just the crux of it.
Yeah.
It was, I just think they'll probably get out of it. They always do. They always do. But you could say that about St Johnstone, who have kind of flirted with it over the years, not as much as County have. Like, this will be 3rd year in a row County are in the playoffs if they can get it. And you're just teetering at that point. I'd kind of like David was saying, like St Johnstone and County to go down to the wire because it adds a little bit of excitement. But let's be honest, I think, like, I was doing Off the Ball 2 weeks ago with Stuart Cosgrove, and a huge St Johnstone fan, he was saying we need 3 wins pretty much to kind of go up this way. And he didn't see it coming. So if you've got Saturday's one, that's just another thing. So I think Simo Valakari seems to have done, depends who you speak to, different kind of reactions. But I think there's a chance they could kind of maybe claw them back. For County, I know they're kind of not in free fall, but they've not won in what do you say, Andy? 7 games or something?
7 games, yeah.
But they're in the next position where if they get one big win, that will probably see them. And it's the time of year when you start looking at the goal difference column, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that game against Dundee on Wednesday, as I said, I'm covering that one. I'd imagine there'll be a lot of tension in the air. I mean, you'll have played in those sorts of games, David. How hard is it to relax and try and play your normal game when there is so much riding on it? I mean, for Dundee as well, I think a win for them means they're mathematically safe. So for both sides, huge amount riding on it.
Yeah, it's a massive game for both clubs that obviously decides the future a wee bit. So it's going to be huge, and it's very difficult to try and get your mindset right and to go into those games, especially when there's so much pressure on it. I think you get very tense, and that it can affect your performance levels, especially at the start of the game. The adrenaline will be pumping, and you want to do as much as you can in those first 5 minutes to sort of lay down a marker to say you're here, you're in the game. But it's going to be really tricky for both of them to sort of implement that, especially if Ross County are so low in confidence. And I think you said 7 games without, like, it's not like they've drawn a game, they've lost all 7, haven't they? So it's like really difficult going on that sort of run to see any sort of try and think positively going into it. So it's going to be so difficult for them. And the likes of Dundee, obviously, they've got like Simon Murray, who's scored so many goals this year and been a massive player for them. So Dundee are going to feel, I think, more confident going into it with what we've done this season.
You're going to get that headline in the Perth Courier: St Johnstone legend stirs the pot, and it's just like 7 games without a win for free-falling County. That'll be back page tomorrow. There you go, Spinny.
I'd probably love it.
Yeah, it'll have to be the Courier. I don't think you could pin a podcast up in the dressing room wall, can you? Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. Thanks to Ray Bradshaw and David Wotherspoon, and thanks to you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. But for now, from David, from Ray and from me, thanks for listening.
On BBC Sounds. From life aboard a Russian submarine to chairman of Hearts Football Club.
this stage, he was the hero.
But as his controversial decisions escalated,
they said, we're going to sack George. And I'm going, you can't do this.
How did Vladimir Romanov go from Hearts' saviour to a wanted man?
They caused a whole load of chaos and havoc.
Romanov, Tsar of Hearts. Listen now on BBC Sounds.